Our presentation, we called it Brighter Days Ahead. We chose to focus on streamlining course subs and waivers. Before we get into the meat of that, though, we would like to treat you all to some early morning theater. I've got my co-thespian here, and Janelle, so just, go there with us.
Oh, microphone. Good morning, Adam. How are you?
Doing great. Really happy to be here.
Wonderful. Welcome to the graduation office. Don't worry about the mess. Just a couple of substitution waivers and whatnot. We do have graduation coming up. Lot going on. We're a little busy, but we're so glad you're here.
And I'm really excited to be here too. I've wanted to work in higher ed for a while, and I know that graduation office may not be the most glamorous job, but I know from my experience, I had trouble with some of my course substitutions kind of coming with me, and the process was sometimes confusing and cumbersome. And a lot of times I just ended up kind of just walking away from it and kind of giving up on that. So I want to kind of contribute in ways that I can. So
I'm so glad you're excited about that, and it's wonderful. Your desk is here. Your fellow coworkers are here. We're here to support you as much as we can. But go ahead and get started on these. These just came in. So there you go. Have fun.
I'm going to need a bigger boat.
Good morning. We are team. There we go. Sorry. Thank you. Good morning. We're team Falcon-5, and I am Judy Arriaga.
FC Carinicas. Sharissa Edgington.
Adam Leaker.
And Janelle Townsell. Good morning, and thank you for your ear. As you can see from that lovely dramatic skit there, our college is stretched a bit thin from time to time. Continual processes are happening, and what we'd like to point out is that the course substitution and waiver process is a bit convoluted, and it's very stressful for students. Our skit illustrated that the students have a difficulty making those requests, or it might have led to that illustration. It's a little bit difficult to make that request in the first place. And of course, as you heard before, we have about 10 campuses. We are spread across a vast area from Round Rock to Leander now. We are growing wonderfully. The skit also illustrated that the staff has increasing workload. That's one thing with a growing campus that's not going down. So our team's combined experience, it indicates that advisors need timely feedback in order to help students with course substitution and waivers and knowing about the approval or denial of those substitutions and waivers in order to help students and to better help them get to their ultimate goal. And so our proposal is to streamline the course substitution and waiver process and to allow academic advisors the ability to submit the request and to provide feedback to faculty and staff, the originators of the proposal or of the request, as to whether the request has been approved or denied. So what we have done is we have interviewed subject matter experts. These are ACC employees, administrators who are directly involved in the process. We have reviewed the current process, then the procedures held here at ACC, and we have done our research. We've researched the best practices of the area and our sister institutions. We've also analyzed data, because we all need the data, on the course substitutions and waiver requests that are received here at ACC. We also reviewed data from the student satisfaction surveys. And so, now Adam will continue with the problem.
Yes, I will. So when we were looking at this proposal, some of the things that kept coming up for us in the current process to submit for course substitutions and waivers three things really stood out. One of that is that it does provide inadequate feedback for our academic advisors, which breaks down on some of the academic advising effectiveness. We're in the business of customer service, and our customers are our students. So to be able to provide higher quality customer service, we thought it was important to try to improve upon that. We also noticed from the subject matter experts that we interviewed is that there's an uneven implementation, not only across the different campuses, but also within different departments. And that yields confusion for our students. And so there was also a two-pronged added administrative burden to not only administrators who are having to do some duplicated tasks and entering the requests and then going back and following up with whether those requests were approved or denied. There's also an undue burden on the students that are having to kind of descend on this wild goose chase and doing persistent with follow-up with department chairs, with deans, and as a result, a lot of students get frustrated and abandon the process. So that was one thing that we wanted to focus on with that. And so Janelle talked about some of the research that we did as far as reviewing procedures manuals, instructions, data from academic advising satisfaction surveys that students fill out. We also, we interviewed 8 advisors. Let's see here, there we go. Yeah, we interviewed 8 advisors, counselors, advising specialists, as well as 2 directors, advising supervisors, 3 deans, department chairs, 5 staff from various offices around the college to gather some of our input from different areas in the college. The solution that we came up with, so we looked at one of our exemplary programs in this regard, which is the APT program, and our own Judy has previous experience working in there, and with the allowances that she had in her field, in her role, she was able to see an increase in graduation rates in her program of 150%. So it seemed pretty significant. Janelle also mentioned some of the examples for best practice, so we did look at the practices at Texas State University. We looked at the practices also at UT San Antonio Health Science Center. At Texas State, departmental advisors within defined parameters are able to approve course substitutions. One of the things that stood out for us at UT San Antonio Health Science was the fact that there was this imperative to respond to students' requests in a timely manner so that they're not just kind of left in the lurch, not sure what is going on exactly. And some of the data that we compiled, and first off, I want to give a shout out to IT because they were very helpful in giving us the information to comb through. The takeaway from the data is that this problem is going to continue and it's going to increase, and so therefore it is imperative, we feel, to make some changes, focusing back to, we're in the business of customer service to try to improve that customer service to our students. The data shows that awards conferred are increasing at the same time as the number of requests. So again, this is going to be a problem that we're hopefully going to need to address more efficiently. It also suggests increasing workload and the burden for students seeking to graduate. So by streamlining the process as soon as possible, it would allow students to graduate sooner, and it would also help in retaining students that are pursuing credentials at ACC. And now I am going to pass it to Judy. Yeah.
So I'm going to discuss our proposed process. We're simply asking that we provide our current academic advisors and counselors access to online services so that they may submit the substitution requests and also receive feedback. Have an automated email once that substitution or waiver request has been reviewed by the authoritative person, that they receive an automated email response letting them know the status of the request that they originated and submitted for review. What will this do? This will definitely eliminate the wild goose chase. Some of our students attend campuses, their home campuses is Round Rock, their computer studies, science major. Guess what? In order to get that information or that request submitted now, they have to meet with their department chair. Mary Coles is located at Rio Grande, moving to Highland, but still that's a huge inconvenience for a lot of our students. And this happens, across the district. Having 11 campuses and growing, it's going to continue to be a problem. And having that academic advisor that we're trying to develop relationships with our students and grow those, make them more strong. It gives our advisors some empowerment, and it also helps develop that relationship so that they can follow up with them and they get connected. So, next slide. So our implementation process is pretty simple. We just simply want to amend our current process by giving our advisors access to the online services. We would need assistance from IT to give them access to online services so that they then may go online, submit the request whenever they're meeting with the student, know that they recognize, hey, oh, you've taken college algebra, or maybe you need college algebra, but you've taken calculus. No need to go backwards. Let's go ahead and get that substitution request submitted. It's not authorizing it. That still lies onto the responsibility for the department chair and the dean. So we're not making any promises. We're simply just saying we're going to try to get this go ahead. And also, it tells the student right up front, you're going to have a clear path. You know what you need. You're not going to be waiting. You're not going to have to submit that graduation application. And guess what? You get that letter from graduation office saying, oh, you're not going to graduate because you're missing this course. You already know it's already been taken care of. It also alleviates a lot of work for the graduation office, having to go back and get those substitutions taken care of 2 weeks before graduation because they're finally reviewing the applications that have been submitted. So we're alleviating a lot of work for a lot of people and stress for our students. So ultimately, customer service. The training we think would best be done by our graduation office for this process because they're the ones ultimately doing this pretty much on their own, and they created the process. We did do phase 1, phase 2, substitution requests first in phase 1, and then phase 2 will be the waivers because waivers require additional documentation, which we require more assistance from our IT department because an attachment has to be included showing like a certification so a course could be waived or proof of documentation that's needed. So that would be part of phase 2. The advisors would already have access to it, but we would need to be able to attach documentation. And in this part, we want our department chairs and our deans to do the training versus the graduation office. We feel that they are going to be the people that are most knowledgeable, most equipped to tell who our advisors, hey, these are the areas. Hey, this student comes in and they have CompTIA A+ certification. Well, guess what? That's a waiver for ITSC 1325 PC hardware. They're the ones who know that knowledge, and they can share that with our advisors, and again, save our students a lot of time, hassle, and expedite the process. So now I'm going to turn over to Sharisa so she can address our next proposed streamlined process.
So our hope is that sort of a before and after, once the new process is introduced, that streamlined process will decrease certain things. Certainly it will decrease paperwork for students. They don't have to carry around departmental contact information or maybe supporting documentation until they have time to actually go and make their requests. It's going to hopefully decrease the number of students taking unnecessary or duplicated courses. Again, not having them take a lower level math when they probably have already addressed that content in another math course. And hopefully decrease time for graduation. So again, reducing course load could increase our graduation numbers. It is certainly going to reduce the course load or workload for department chairs and instructional deans. They don't have to go through that kind of two-step process of entering the sub and approving the sub. Now they can just go in and approve or deny the substitution request. And they also don't have to set aside meeting time to try to meet with students about the substitution request. These will just be entered in the system by hopefully an advisor. It will also decrease the turnaround time for approvals or denials because, again, once the approval or denial has been made, an email gets sent out to an advisor who can then communicate that information to this student in a timely manner. This will also increase the effectiveness of academic advising because when we immediately see the opportunity for a course substitution request, we can just make that in real time with the student in our office, which also increases the likelihood that the substitution request will actually be followed through with. Fewer people that the students have to see and fewer steps that they have to be familiar with. It will also increase the time that the graduation office actually has to review student progress whenever they apply for graduation. Hopefully all of this paperwork is just already done. And then timeline and budget. So we were hoping for phase 1, which is the course substitutions, to possibly introduce that process this summer, which starts Tuesday. So, maybe fall would be the substitution part. And then possibly phase 2, where we're expanding into the course waivers, would be introduced in spring of 2018. Our budget is fairly small. We're using existing technology and existing human resources. So it would really just be the time that IT needs to program those few changes to access, give advisors access. And then the training and the procedure building, possibly by the graduation office. And now I'm going to turn it over to FC.
Thank you. We are asking that academic advisors be permitted to submit online course substitution and course waiver requests on behalf of their students. And we're asking that they get immediate feedback on the decision, denial, or approval of those requests. You have 2 mics. This will directly affect our students. Help students complete their credentials with fewer unnecessary courses. It would lighten the the administrative burden on students, and hopefully that will free up some of their time to be spent on their studies, attending classes, doing their assignments. Thank you. I was asked to drop the mic, but I really couldn't drop this. Not with the president here. I did want to make the point that this idea came from academic advisors working with students on a daily basis who had a vision of how they could be more effective. And they have a lot of ideas on how to be more effective. This is one small thing that can be changed very quickly, and we hope will have an immediate impact. And then in the long term, we hope that graduation rates will increase and perhaps time to completion will decrease. So we urgently hope that you approve this project.
Were there any questions? We're more than willing to answer.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Oh, question? Yes, definitely.
One comment, you may have thought about this, but would there in the system be a need for an appeal process by the student? So just something to think about. You mentioned that now, but maybe that might be appropriate in case an error is made, or not all the documents